When you're ready, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So what I'd like to do is introduce the candidates, and it'll take just a minute because there's been some moving around in terms of who's going to be here today because of health issues. But I'm going to start over here with Rashell Parkinson. Rashell is running for the board. She is not an incumbent, but eager to serve. Can you hear me, by the way? I can. You can?
A little closer.
Would that be better?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for the coaching. So Rashell Parkinson, she raised her hand. They're on our far right. And then next we have Jennie Graham. Jennie's not here. This is Jennifer White. Jennie Graham is one of two people who were to be here today that have been taken ill. And so she's not been there, but I'll let Ms. White explain what the background on that. And then we have Patricia Piper over here. Raise your hand, Patricia, if you would. There you go, hi. And Patricia is an incumbent and as well as running for re-election. And then we have Cora Rose, who's the second person that was intending to be here, but also has been taken ill. And I don't believe as of right now, go ahead, you have news?
I'm going to read some information on Cora.
Okay, good. All right.
No, I mean when it's her turn.
When it's her turn in the opening remarks?
Right.
Okay, let's do that. Thank you for the heads up. I'd encourage you to silence your phones, if you would. That's always annoying for everybody when that happens. Once again, if you haven't submitted your questions and you want to, be sure to pick up the cards in the back of the room and give them to Mark. So this forum did start at 4:45. We're going to run till 6. In the meanwhile, we're going to have the candidates up here. Their opening comments are going to be 3 minutes long, and then as they take a question, they'll have 2 minutes to answer the question. And then at the close of the session, they will have a 3-minute wrap-up period. Now, with that said, if one of the candidates, in their 2-minute response to a question, if they mention another candidate in their response, the candidate that they mentioned now has the opportunity to retake the stage and for 2 minutes to respond if they choose to. They don't have to, but at least they have that opportunity to rebut or add information that clarifies. Everybody understand that? Okay. So we do have timers. Who's our timer? Right here? Okay. So they have the 2 minutes, first of all, the 3 minutes, and then at 30 seconds remaining, there will be an indicator that's visible to the presenters. And then at 10 seconds, there's 15. An indicator available. That'll be the 15 second, okay? And then the stop indicator is the big red one. Candidates, are you okay with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really hard to serve locally in an elected position. And that's why most of us always sit on that side of the podium rather than that side of the podium, right? Because it's hard. So as they respond, let's be respectful relative to the positions that they're attempting to outline. And if you agree, just sit there quietly. If you disagree, just take it in. And when they finish their response, there's no need for catcalling and or applause. However, at the end, before we close at 6 o'clock, we're going to tell them how much we love them for taking the time and energy to run for office and to represent us in these key positions. It's hard work. Everybody understand? Cool. With that, I think I'm ready to start it off. Let me say a little bit about the questions that we've got here. As you can see, they keep coming in, and I've got a bunch. And I'm going to start off, ones I got first, and I just stuck them in behind, and we're going to take off. And we'll rush towards 6 o'clock trying to get these answers. We're gonna work it. The questions are gonna go over here. I'm gonna start on my left. And the first question will go first to Cora, right?
Cora then.
Oh, Pat.
Cora can answer too.
Okay, well, Cora can't answer, but on the opening you can. So on the opening, it'll be Cora, and then Pat, and then Jen for Jenny, and then we'll have Rachel follow up. But it's not fair to always start off with the same person, right? So the next time we go through, we're going to start over here, and we'll go back the other way. Okie dokie? All right, so let's start over here with the introductions. And Cora, if you would talk for, Patricia, if you would talk for Cora.
Okay, so let me read this that Cora put out. Cora Rose is the newest member of the Chetco Community Library District Board. She was unanimously appointed in January, and she seeks your vote. She grew up in Brookings. I think she's the Hanscom family. Oh, shouldn't add to this. And seeks your vote. She stepped into the board position as a way to give back to the community and to the library that she's benefited from since childhood. She loves our library, reading, and everything like that, including she even likes working on the budgets. One of the core values is lifelong learning, and the Chetco Library has helped me live out that value. As a library board member, I support positive, forward-looking, strength-based approaches to library business that promote the twin goals of public access and staff admissibility. I value cordial and professional relationships and am a pragmatic problem solver. I am proud to be part of stewarding our library for the benefit of our community, and ask that you vote to let me continue serving.
Thank you very much, Patty. How many minutes was that, just for?
We were down to 1 minute.
Okay, so that gives you kind of a feel of what 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes is going to feel like. Okay, then we'll here. Thank you. Let's go then to Pat. You, Patricia. Pat, you do your introduction now for 3 minutes. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of people in Brookings know me. I ought to be comfortable speaking to Republicans because I was married to one for 34 years and happily. And I did learn to listen to what he had to say, and he listened to what I had to say, and we came to a good conclusion. And I kind of think it's the same way when I'm addressing a group like you. I've been a library volunteer for over 30 years, and I've served on the board of directors for over 20. I'm also a real estate broker. I've been president of the board twice, Realtor of the Year twice. I'm the only realtor with a Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm also on the Sutter Coast Board of Directors, and I'm on the Marine Corps League Board. So as you can see, since my husband died some years ago, I've had a lot of energy and happy to use it out in the community. You know, I'm Chamber of Commerce president, stuff like that. My biggest goal is to stay on the library board. You're in this gorgeous room, and we have it available for everybody. We even let the Republicans use it. The library has had so many changes. I've had to be here when we've dealt with COVID, when we've dealt with homeless, when we've dealt with leaky roofs. We want to keep the library strong, and we want to keep it for everybody. There have been so many rumors that have come out lately. Somebody called me on the phone and said, there's porno stuff in the children's section. And I went, well, actually, we have a book, we have a section of about 7 books in the children's section that are for adults to answer questions for their kids. And one of them deals with potty training. If you consider that porno, you're right. I don't. Times are changing. Libraries are under the gun everywhere. We want to keep this library strong and safe for everybody. Some of the people, shoot, it's not against Rashell, but I've never seen her at the library. I've never seen her volunteering. I don't even think she has a library card, though I could be wrong about that. But I've been here day after day after day, trying to keep this library the way it ought to be, strong and available for everybody. And I hope you'll vote for me so I can keep on doing it.
Thank you very much, Pat.
You're welcome.
Jen, would you like to respond? Or to introduce your candidate, Jennie Graham?
Sure, I would like to do that. My name is Jennifer White. I'm here representing Jennie Graham. She's running for the library board. She's unable to be here today, unfortunately, because she is one of the 2 that are ill. She has provided me some information to share with you. Jennie has been married for 49 years. She's the parent of 3 sons and 4 grandchildren, and she attended junior college for the art and got a degree in art. She has worked in retail and real estate, and she is very active in her church, and she's taught at the church with kids and ran many summer programs and camps. Her husband Gary supports her in this endeavor to run for library board. He used to own a commercial roofing and construction company. Jennie was a women's church ministry leader for 4 years, and her husband was on the board of that church. She's now retired, loves living in Brookings, as most of us do, of course, and would love to be more involved in our community. She feels that being on the library board is the perfect place to fulfill that desire. Jennie would be honored to become a new member of the board. Her experience will bring new and diverse experience to the board. She feels that reading opens a whole new world and of wonder and adventure, and it helps mold individuals and gives us a place to escape and helps fulfill our dreams. She has a willingness to work with all the other library board members to do what is best for the entire community that the library serves. She would like to encourage a safe and inclusive environment, bring community input concerning library improvements and the use of taxpayer dollars. She'd like to help determine appropriate books for the library collection and set more detailed standards for making these decisions that would be applied to all reading materials equally.
Thank you very much, Jen. Our final candidate is Rachel. Rachel, you are a candidate, not an incumbent, and you've got 3 minutes to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rashell Parkinson, and I'm honored to be here today as a candidate for our community library board. Thank you for taking the time to listen and to be part of our conversation that deeply matters to the future of our town. Like many of you, I believe that the library is much more than just a building filled with books. It's a cornerstone of our community, a hub for learning, creativity, connection, and opportunity. Libraries serve people in ways both big and small, helping a child fall in love with reading, giving someone the tools and space to search for a job, offering internet access to those who need it, or simply providing a quiet place to think and recharge. Over the years, the library has played a deep personal role in my life. Some of my earliest memories are walking hand in hand with my mother to check out library books, of drawings and horses. The most sparked my imagination and gave me confidence and creativity. As I got older, especially when the internet was still new, I remember the thrill of logging onto the computer here at the library and learning how to navigate the web. Kind of dating myself there. As an adult, the library continued to be a lifeline. At one point, just recently when we lived up the South Bank out of range of internet service, I needed a quiet place, a dependable place to study for my realtor's license 6 years ago now. The library became that place for me. I spent over 150 hours here, day after day, preparing, learning, and growing into the next phase of my career. That experience reminded me just how vital the library is for people to strive to move forward with their lives. I've been recently spending time here to engage in the books in the children's area there and get familiar with the programs that we have. Spending time here, seeing what our library has to offer. I feel comfortable in our library here. I'm running today because I believe that the library is one of the most essential institutions in any community. It's one of the few public spaces where everyone should feel welcome, regardless of your age, income, background, or your beliefs. It's a place where ideas are explored and skills are built. I believe it's our responsibility to protect and strengthen that. When elected to the library board, I will bring not only my personal passion, but also my professional experience and dedication to serve. I want to contribute my time, my energy, and my skills to support and improve the services. That includes expanding youth and adult programs, helping with financial planning and budgeting, and working to increase community involvement. I want to ensure that we can continue to evolve, making the changes needed for our residents here, and holding on to the values that make our library such a special place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to just take a moment. I'm going to make sure my phone is on silent. And I would encourage you too, if you haven't done that just yet. Oh darn, look at that. Our first question then, 2-minute response from each of the candidates. And Rashell, we'll start with you.
Sure.
Okay, the question reads, have you reviewed the current library board budget and the strategic plan for 2025-27? Add-on question, and have you identified items that are wasteful, frivolous, or unnecessary?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've read the strategic plan, and what I found raises a lot of concerns. For the library projects it receives $900,000 of taxpayer income. Out of that, $746,000 is going directly to salaries. That means most of your taxpayer dollars are going to salaries, right? Not books, not community programs, not capital improvements, wages. And what's more troubling than traditional library volunteers are now paid employees with full benefits, funded by you, the taxpayers. Meanwhile, as physical book checkouts continue to decline and more families turn to Beacon broadband high-speed internet, staffing and salaries are still on the rise. A few questionable spending items include, we have $1 million parking lot renovation that's going to happen, resurfacing project, despite the lot rarely being full and the occupants of vans and trucks of overnight shelters as it is. There's a projected the book mobiles and vending machines that are going to be placed around the district, which will require extra paid staff and managed, and also raise the insurance and liability concerns. Capital funds should be saved for true emergencies like water damage and storm repairs, and instead of frivolous projects, including unnecessary sidewalk development and roundabout drop boxes. When elected, I promised to investigate this misuse of tax dollars and fight for responsibility, transparency, and budgeting that reflects the needs of our small rural area.
Thank you very much, Michelle. So let's go on to Jen White, who is answering for Jennie Graham. Okay? So I'll read the question again.
Yes, please.
Okay. Have you reviewed the current library board budget and the strategic plan for 2025 through 2027? Follow on. And have you identified items that are wasteful, frivolous, or unnecessary?
So again, I am answering on behalf of Jennie Graham. She is the one running for library board and would appreciate your vote. She has reviewed the library board budget. She gave me some notes that she has taken from that. She is concerned about transparency, wanting to make sure that what is in the budget is explained to the voters, that voters know how their money is being spent, that she does not want us to be spending things on things that are not related to books or materials that are being checked out, that which is the purpose of the library. These are things like wanting to have mobile books, vending machines, various different things that are on that are spoken about at the various board meetings. She is also concerned about what is happening in the library as far as how many books are purchased, what kind of books that are purchased, how the taxpayer dollars are being spent. And it's very important that all of the entire library board district is represented in the purchase and how we spend our money. And to have input from the community on all of those aspects is very important. So this is what her desire is. Her desire is to make sense for what a rural community public library should do and how it should serve the people in that district.
Thank you very much, Jen.
I'll let you repeat the question.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Have you reviewed the current library board budget and the strategic plan for 2025 through 27? Follow on, and have you identified items that are wasteful, frivolous, or unnecessary?
So let me answer the back part of that first, and frankly, my answer is no. When we do the budget, we listen to what the people in the community want. We try to, well, look at this building, for example. We gutted the old building and put a new building in. We just spent a lot of money so that we've got the microphones and the audio system, and we've got, we can televise things. This is no longer a little library in Brookings. This is a community center where people can come and share and learn. We not only have library books that are important to us. I was sick back in September, had a heart attack and a stroke the same day. I'm an overachiever, I can't blame it. But what happened to me is I started using audiobooks while I was in the hospital. And I've got two of them right now, a James Patterson and another one that I'm listening to. Things have changed, the library has changed. It's no longer just a place to come and get a book. The amount of books taken out of the library has gone down. People are using audiobooks. In this library, free of charge, you can listen to audiobooks 24/7. You can watch a movie. I'm also studying Chinese and doing it very badly. That's free from the library. You know, we are trying to maintain a library that's effective for the people in this community. And we've had input from the community, and that's what we've used to make our major plan. I could go on.
But thank you very much, Pat. Question number 2, we'll start with Pat. And the question reads, current library policy provides for eliminating literature considered inaccurate, or misleading? What are the guidelines used to determine inaccuracy and misleading status?
I'm not positive of that answer. How's that? Because we have a well-trained librarian that helps make those decisions. But, you know, we belong to 13 libraries. You know, we're part of a huge consortium. So if you want to borrow a book that is well out of print, like Little House on the Prairie, number 14 or something, we may not have it here, but they may have it up in Coos Bay, or in Port Orford, or in Gold Beach, so that we can get it to you. So we don't need to have some books that I may have thought were wonderful when I was growing up. They just don't fit anymore. They don't fit our library. But if we need them, we can get them from other libraries, or we can look at them on online or with an audiobook.
Have you concluded?
I hope so.
Very good. Thank you very much, Pat. Jennifer, may I read this to you?
Yes.
Current library policy provides for eliminating literature considered inaccurate or misleading. What are the guidelines used to determine inaccuracy or misleading status?
So Jenny has done some research. She's gone on the Checo Community Library website. On that website, you can read the bylaws for the board, you can read the policies, and there is a policy that has to do with it's called the Collection Development Policy. And in that policy, it gives the library director the ultimate responsibility for the library's collection decisions. That is a concern, to have one person's voice be the one who's making that ultimate decision. It would be wonderful if more community input could be placed in that decision, with either an advisory board, which, you know, where you could have people from all kinds of different individuals with different thoughts to help make these decisions, so that the items being selected are equal. The other thing that I would say about that is that if you are interested, I will have a handout available. You're welcome to come up and grab a handout that goes into information about the American Library Association. They claim to be a nonpartisan organization, but they are not a federal regulation entity. And so it's important to know that if we're going to make decisions, we should make decisions based on the real laws and the things that really govern the library. And this information, which is available, has website references, and I would invite people to be educated. It's really important to have educated voters.
Thank you very much, Jen. Michelle, can I read the question? Currently, library policy provides for eliminating literature considered inaccurate or misleading. What are the guidelines that lead to determine inaccuracy or misleading status?
Yeah. Did you know that the current library policy allows removing literature deemed inaccurate or misleading? But here's the real question. Who decides what qualifies for inaccurate or misleading? Right now, content selection and removal decisions are made solely by one library director. That is a serious concern, especially in a community like ours, where taxpayers and families and voters have a deep interest in what's available in our public library. When elected to the library board, I will advocate for more transparency, inclusive process, and one that puts decision-making back in the hands of the people. To create 3 examples to create more transparency are a citizens advisory committee. A common feature in many library districts would help guide content decision based on the community values. Elect board oversight would ensure greater transparency and public accountability. Taxpayer representation would give you a voice in decisions, what would stay in our library. The kind of civic engagement fosters trust, pride, and ownership, and leads more support through volunteering, donations, and community involvement. Currently, the library's collection development guidelines rely heavily on just two vague questions. Does the content contain inaccuracies? Is the content misleading? While these are important questions, they are far too limited. I will advocate for adding two more questions. What is the community's interest in the content? Is the content age appropriate? This criteria ensures content choices better reflect the values, interests, and needs of our community, while still protecting against false or harmful information. They also help prevent costly backlash, legal rights, and public controversy. As taxpayers, stakeholders, and citizens, your voice should be heard. Don't you agree it's time for more transparency and accountability in our library system?
Thank you very much. And you are on deck again.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. This is our third question. If elected, in your opinion, what content do you consider to be inaccurate or misleading, and should one person at the Pax Public Library make those determinations?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I just touched on that just a second ago with inaccuracy and misleading. And it should not be just one person, in my opinion. This is a huge community. Actually, it's not very huge. We are a small town. We're only 6,500 people. And as a candidate for the library board, I believe that the public library reflects on the values, the voices, and the diversity of the entire community it serves, not just the opinions and preference of a single individual. Right now, the authority to determine what content is included or excluded rests with the library director alone. That includes the power to decide what is inaccurate and misleading, or even unwelcome. This is deeply problematic, especially in a rural, taxpayer-funded district like ours. Libraries should be a forum of ideas, not a filter for selective viewpoints. According to the library's current collection of development policy, content is evaluated by those two questions. Does it contain inaccuracies, and is it misleading? While these questions are reasonably vague and open to interpretation, particularly one person is left to answer them. For example, are controversial historical transcripts misleading? Are religious and philosophical matters inaccurate because someone disagrees with them? Who decides where the line is, and what happens when the community members disagree? Recently, a grant-funded program, when elected, I will advocate for a citizen advisory committee made up for the community members, taxpayers, and educators, and parents. The committee would work in partnership to elect library board guidelines, decisions, and content selection, programs offering collection development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rashell. Let's move on to Jen White, who is answering for Jennie Graham. Again, the question reads, if elected, in your opinion, what content do you consider to be inaccurate or misleading? And should one person at our public library make these determinations?
So Jennie feels very strongly that it should be a community that makes the decisions about what's in a community library. That is what she would advocate for. She would want to get community input, make herself available for that. She would be willing to learn and work with the other board members to make things very effective. One of the things that is mentioned a lot in the board meetings that we have for the library is the reference to the American Library Association. But that's headquartered in Chicago, Illinois. That is not in Brookings. It doesn't represent what the community here is about. And so she would want us to be using our resources here at the library for all community. She's concerned about the fact that you wouldn't have seen this event on the Sheco Community Library calendar. Thank you all for being here, for being informed and coming, but why not have all the events that are happening at the library? Why is there not transparency? Even if it's not a sponsored event from the library, why not be on the calendar? Why not be out there, on the bulletin board? So she would want to have, if the library resources are being used, let everyone know about all of it and have it be inclusive and also be transparent.
Thank you very much, Jen. Pat, can I read the question for you?
Sure.
Okay. If elected, in your opinion, what content do you consider to be inaccurate or misleading? And should one person at our public library make those determinations?
You know, when we hired our librarian, we searched throughout the entire United States to find somebody that had her qualifications. And she's great, she really is. I can't, say we only get 100 new books in the library every week, you know, or every other week. Are we gonna get community members all getting together and make the decision? I belong to a book club. We can't decide what book we're gonna have the next month. You know, we need a person who's trained and knowledgeable and does research and listens to the community. I told you, I'm listening to a James Patterson audiobook right now. It's because he's a popular author. It was requested by a bunch of people in the community, and it's on the playlist for me to listen to. Same way with the books that are in the library. We have a librarian that makes that decision. I'm older than I think probably anybody in this room, or at least close. I've gone to a lot of libraries. The librarian selects the books. She listens to what the people in the community want. She listens to what people are coming in saying, gee, this is a new book that just came out, you know. And she's also looking to see if a book has been on the shelf for a year and nobody's taken it out. It's hard sometimes, if that's your favorite book, to have that book removed, but somebody with authority is making that decision based on her training, her education, and the fact that she listens to other people. I think it would be wrong for 20 people to get together to vote about every book that goes into the library. We'd probably get nothing done.
So we're really grateful for the contribution of our candidates. What isn't appreciated is interrupting the discourse and the dialogue by taking a position that is disrespectful to the neighbors that are here in the room. So I'm going to ask again, let's honor our candidates and let's tell them how much we love them at the close together. And of course, there's always opportunity to socialize afterwards. Thank you for your extra consideration on that point. Okay, thank you. We're going to shift the focus just a little bit here. So we're going to start looking at least for this next question, at board meetings and board protocol. So let me offer this question. The current library management limits public comment to address only items on the current agenda. Would you be willing to change this and allow public comment to take place on other topics? And we'll start with you, Pat.
We can always have other things put on the agenda, but we're giving people 3 minutes to comment on the items that are on the agenda, but other items can be put on the agenda. The problem that we have right now is not with people making comments about things on the agenda, but for example, they'll ask a bunch of questions knowing that we're not able to answer the questions. We're just able to listen to their input. So then when the meeting's over, people say, well, I asked questions of the library board and they didn't answer me at all. That's not fair. You know, yeah, we try to listen to what people want, but we also have a long agenda and can add stuff to the agenda if people want it. But to ask questions about what's one of the new books that's just come into the library, when we have this full agenda ahead of us and it doesn't match, makes for a long heck of a meeting. I don't know if I've answered that question properly or not, but.
Well, you did for me, thank you.
Okay.
Do you have more comments that you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Very good. Jen, what would Jennie Graham say about this question? The current library management limits public comment to address only items on the current agenda. Would you be willing to change this and allow public comment to take place on other topics?
So Jenny would say yes, that she would want to change the current process. She would like to see if there's a way to mirror what some of the other boards in our community are doing. One is an example of this public comment card that the current County Board of Commissioners uses. They allow for individuals to make comments that are not on the agenda. And so that would be something that she would want to allow. The community may have concerns and may not know or have the ability to find a way to have something placed on the agenda. She would like to have an opportunity for individuals to have this opportunity. She also is concerned about, yes, the current format is for the board to only allow comment for 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting. But why can't that be changed? Why can't individuals be heard if they want to be heard? Why can't there be a dialogue at the board meetings? If there are questions or concerns that are coming up during some part of the agenda, maybe at the very beginning of a meeting, at the very beginning of a meeting, when you have your 3 minutes to speak, you don't know what's going to be said during the board meeting. You don't know if you have a question, something that might come up when they're talking about the budget or a budget item, and all of a sudden you might have a question about that, but now you can't say anything because your 3-minute opportunity has already come and gone. Why can't that be at the end if it's disruptive to do it during the meeting? But it just seems like she feels that the community if there are people who are taking the time out of their day to come to a board meeting, why can't they be able to be heard?
Completed? Thank you very much. Okay, same question here. The current library management limits public comment to address only items on the current agenda. Would you be willing to change this and allow public comment to take place on other topics?
Yes, I'd like to see that changed. I've sat in on board meetings and they're really not very long. I think for people to come in from the public and have our taxpayers' voices heard is very important. To have the concerns and ideas rectified is very important. Open dialogue between the public and the library board is essential for good governance. Limited public input to only pre-approved topics is not transparent, and it's certainly not inclusive. Instead, I would advocate for a true public comment period where it welcomes and respects input from the community members, whether it's on the agenda or not. Let's take a cue from again, like she said, the Curry County Board of Commissioners. They also allow public comments with clear guidelines for creativity, time limits, and doctrine, without concerns. It just opens up that avenue of being on the same page with our community, what our community wants, what they foresee for our, especially for taxpayers that fund our facility. They should be able to say when they want to. I feel that it's important that they can portray their message, ask questions. There might be a way to make that work, maybe just changing the forum just a little bit. Proposed public comment card guidelines, maybe just tweaking it a bit, I think might help for everybody. There's that good guidelines again that the commissioner boards use, allow for agendas, letting that time limit for 3 minutes for speakers to ensure fairness and efficiency, of course with civility and respect at all times, opportunities to follow up with other discussions at the meetings. So yeah, I do think that allowing people to come in and talk if they're taking that time is a great idea.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Jen, would you like to jump back in the middle here and provide a response for Jennie Graham?
She already did.
Oh, you already did that one? Okay, new one. This goes back then to Rashell.
Yep.
Where do you think your strengths and weaknesses fit in the current board?
Yeah, I have a lot of strengths that I think I can bring to this board that complement it right now, particularly during a time of accountability and fiscal responsibility. Community engagement, I foresee creating some programs that reach out to the schools, the colleges, being an advocate for ADAPT and some of the homeless programs that are out there. First and foremost, I am a fair-minded and collaborative. I have many years of experience working with diverse teams, both professional and volunteering. I understand the importance of listening to all perspectives before making a decision. I don't come to the table with a personal agenda. I come with a deep sense of responsibility to ensure the library reflects the needs and values of the entire community, not just a select few. One of my strongest attributes is to focus on the budget and oversight of the financial stewardship. As the library continues to receive $900,000 annually as taxpayer funds, I believe it is crucial to ensure that those dollars are being spent wisely. I will ask tough questions, and I'll dig into deep details and advocate for transparency and clear communication when the tax dollars are going. Salaries, programming, capital projects should be carefully reviewed, and the lenses towards the community benefits long-term sustainability. Another strength I bring is my role as a community advocate. I'm passionate about building strong public institutions and grounding in trust and fairness and accountability. That means listening to the taxpayers, responding to concerns, and encouraging ongoing dialogue between the board and the community. I strongly believe that the community inputs essential upkeep to the public and responsive and effectiveness. I also believe in a library that gets back to the core mission, providing access of information, books, learning opportunities in ways that is fiscal, responsible, and free to political bias.
Thank you very much, Rashell. So we're passing the mic to Jen White, who's going to be answering the same question for Jennie Graham. Question is, where do you think your strengths and weaknesses fit on the current board?
So I've spent a lot of time with Jennie. That's why I'm able to be here to speak on her behalf. It's hard for someone to think about their weaknesses and talk about what their weaknesses are. She would be a brand new member of the board, so there would be a lot for her to learn, but she is really willing to dive in and learn all that she can. She's willing to really partner with those that are on the board. She doesn't want to, she'd rather be a peacemaker. She kind of would like to bring people together, just having all sides heard. One of the things that she had expressed to me is that she would like to be more focused on the core services of the library, as opposed to things that aren't necessarily what a library was originally created to be. Focusing on what's happening within this building and not necessarily the community at large, that there are other agencies and departments and services and committees and things like that that can handle some of the other items of that nature, but she would want to just focus on what this library is supposed to do for this community.
Thank you very much, Jen. Pat, are you ready?
I'll let you read the question again.
Absolutely. Where do you think your strengths and weaknesses fit in with the current board?
Well, my strength is probably the years that I've spent here. 30 years as a volunteer. I actually was stacking books as they were moving them to the new building here. And in 2001, I got on the board. The reason they put me on the board is because I'm an active real estate broker, and so many people kept coming in and getting their library cards, and they said, my real estate agent showed us through the library because she was so proud of it, so we came to sign up. And that got me on the board of directors. And I've been on it ever since. And I know that our country is changing and our town is changing. But I hope that the library doesn't change. I have been a lover of Brookings, and I owned a bookstore. Give you an example. I owned a bookstore when we were building the annex across the street, and I was on the board. And I voted to do that because I thought it would help the library, even though I knew that it was going to hurt my bookstore. This library is so important to this town, not just for the books, but because it's a meeting place, because we need something bringing our community closer together instead of separating it and bringing it further apart. One of the things that I'm really proud of that had nothing to do with the library, I got the National Clara Barton Award. That's because I did the blood drive here for over 25 years. And when I tell you that I bled for this town, I mean I bled for this town. This library is critical for us, and we need to keep it strong and vibrant and as wonderful as it is.
Thank you very much, Pat. Are you ready for the next question?
Sure.
Okay. What will be your highest priority if re-elected, Pat?
Showing up. I
You
know that
have
sounds weird.
you have 118 seconds left.
You've got to be here. I mean, I'm at the library. We had to take every single solitary book in the library and change the numbers on the back of it and put new numbers on because they're all in new locations. It took countless hours, and there weren't that many of us that volunteered to help. We have children's programs. The last time we had a big kids program, we had over 500 show up here at the library. All I want to do is keep this library good and strong. We're talking about the amount of money that's being spent here. When we hire somebody new at the library, they could make as much money at McDonald's and free burgers. We try to stay up with what everybody is offering and try to keep people happy that they're here. Most people working in the library love it. They love books, they love the community, they love the feeling that they have. They're messing with COVID, they're messing with the homeless people that are doing stuff in that bathroom that I wouldn't use for all the money in the world. And we're trying to keep them happy and safe. I could talk for hours about why this library is important. And if she didn't have that 30-second thing, I would. It's important because we bring kids in here. We don't let kids come in here, little kids, without an adult or somebody older to come in there with them, so that we're sure that they're going to pick the right books. You know, it isn't. I have to stop. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Pat.
You're welcome.
Jen White, are you ready to answer for Jennie Graham? The question is, what will be your highest priority if elected?
So for Jenny, her highest priority would be an advocate with an open door policy for the community. That's her priority. She wants to have all stakeholders of all kinds have a voice. She wants to be able to take a look, and I know that we're talking about money, but take a look at the financial and the budget just to make sure that the money is being spent for all taxpayers equally.
Thank you very much, Jen. Rashell, the question is, what will be your highest priority if elected?
Yeah, mine too. My highest priority is you, the taxpayers, making sure that your money is allocated correctly. You know, being an open door, creating that open space where you can bring in your thoughts and your ideas and able to talk to the board and let it reflect on what our community wants. Let's see here, what else did I write? Might as well fill my time up here. My approach is not to be about pushing a personal agenda or making decisions behind closed doors. It's about listening first and acting with integrity. I believe much of the tension and misunderstandings we've seen around the library policy could be avoided through an open, respectful dialogue between the board and the people it serves. That's why I prioritize community involvement and decision-making together, whether it's through an open public comment as library-related topics, on or off the agenda. Citizens Advisory Committee, I think, is a great way and that would only be made up of 5 people. They are very common in other libraries. An advisory committee, they oversee what kind of books would be brought in, not just one person. Again, I have to bring that to one person making a sole decision of what books might be misleading is highly probable. I think it doesn't represent every person of the community, but an advocate committee would do that. That to me is very important. And you know, the library director, I don't know if she's considered the librarian. I think the library director is different than the librarian. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but she has the ultimate say and power. And I want to bring it back to the people where we have a say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rashell. Are you ready for the next question? Very good. So this question has been asked more than once in the pile of paper that I've got up here. So it must be near and dear to some hearts. If elected, will your intention be to ban books?
No, I don't have any intention to ban books. I know that's a big thing, controversial thing right now. It's not my intention to ban books. I believe deeply in the First Amendment right, the freedom of speech and the free exchange of ideas. Libraries should continue to be places where people can access information, expand their knowledge, and explore diversity perspectives. With that said though, I also believe that we must balance these rights with the responsibility to protect children from content that is not age appropriate. As a community, we already recognize the need for common sense boundaries. For example, publication like the Playboy or Hustler are not openly displayed in the grocery store where children can grab them. They're kept behind the counters, restricted by adults, and require an ID to purchase. That's not censorship, that's responsible placement. And if you went into the library right here, I don't know when you sat down in the youth section, Pat, but down there is library books. I've spent time in there that are in the youth section that a 5-year-old can grab, and they're very explicit, sexually explicit. My idea to have those organized in appropriateness, not necessarily banning, but appropriateness where these children are not subjected to the sexual explicit nature here. The same principles should apply in our public libraries. I'm not advocating for removing books or restricting access to unlawful content, but I'm advocating for thoughtful, age-appropriateness placement. Books that contain sexually explicit material should not be shelved in areas easily for the young children, which some of them are right now. You can walk in there right now. This isn't about banning, it's about ensuring the content is available in a responsible, respectful way, which is in alignment with most families in our communities, I would expect.
Thank you very much, Rashell. Jen, on behalf of Jennie Graham, here's the next question. If elected, will your intention be to ban books?
So Jennie also does not have any intention of banning any books. She is concerned that is what has been said, but that is not correct. She would like to just have common sense used when approaching what is placed in the children and youth areas of our library. She is wondering why when you go to the movie theater, for example, movies are rated. They're rated so that the parents or individuals kind of know what they're gonna be expecting. You know, is it gonna be really violent, whatever it is. The idea is, why can't we do something similar to that for our library, for the books in the library, to know, well, is this appropriate for children? Is this appropriate for maybe teenagers? Is this appropriate for adults? And have that be able to be communicated so that parents, you know, if a parent wants their child to read a certain book, there's nothing stopping that parent from doing that. It's just that we would like to have guidance, have parental guidance over children, have a safe place for the children, and not have things that inadvertently are you know, available. So that's her desire. That's why she's really running for library board, is because she really wants to have this safe space for the children.
Thank you. Pat, if elected, will your intention be to ban books?
Obviously not. I mean, I hope that nobody wants that, at least yet. Let me address the books that seem to be some concern in the children's section. there's probably 6 or 7 books that were put there specifically by, you know, the whole consortium that handles what books are where. They're books that a parent might want if the kid is asking a question, so that the mother doesn't have to go somewhere else, leave the kid there. For example, one of them is on potty training. One of them is on, you know, if you're feeling, you know, strangely, how do you handle it? You know, I've looked at all of the books. They are all either from Parents Magazine or Good Housekeeping or Scholastic. You know, they're supposed to be guidelines for parents. I'm telling you, I would have given anything if my mother had had them when I was that age. She didn't. And she said you could always ask your teacher. I went to Catholic school. I wasn't gonna ask Sister Mary Honorata. I didn't think she knew the answer, number one, and it would have embarrassed me. So I asked a friend of mine, and I'm not gonna share with you what some of those answers were. We have those books there in that specific area so that a kid's not gonna pick those books out. We've got thousands of gorgeous kids' books. And if a kid ever did and said, Mommy, that's the book I want, Mommy should say, no, that's not the book. Let's go look over here. But if a mother needs those books to answer questions for the kids, that's where they put them, and that's where they need to stay.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Pat, are you ready for another one?
Oh, sure.
All right. So this is actually going to be directed at Jenny and Rachel. Rashell, but I'm going to read the question to you, but this falls under our 3rd rule about how the candidates answer questions. This question is specifically asked to the 2 running for the 1st term. It's not addressed to incumbent, but you will have an opportunity to answer it in the 2-minute time frame. So with your permission, what I'd like to do is go ahead and direct this question to the 2 non-incumbents, and then you would have your 2 minutes at the end to retort, respond, however you see fit. Is that satisfactory?
Sure.
All right. So to our 2 job seekers, it goes like this. Your opponents and current board members claim nonpartisan status, but are active in local protests and are vocal in their leftist liberal views. Do you believe they are nonpartisan? We'll start with you, Rachel.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know them well enough to know their beliefs or background. You're saying that they are nonpartisan, or that they're taking part in
I'll read the question, that part of it again.
Sure.
Yeah, they claim, current board members claim nonpartisan status,
Okay.
but are active in local protests and are vocal in their leftist and liberal views. Do you believe they are nonpartisan?
I guess if they're protesting against on a certain side of the spectrum, then no, I don't think they'd be nonpartisan necessarily. No, not if you're protesting something.
Do you have
I
any
don't know
further
their
com-
personal stance though, so, I mean, if they have a belief in something and they wanna take, a protest against something, that's their personal right to do so.
So we'll move on to Jen, on behalf of Jennie Graham. Your opponents and current board members claim nonpartisan status, but are active in local protests and are vocal in their leftist and liberal views. Do you believe they are nonpartisan?
So I would be responding on behalf of Jenny. So these are individuals that are currently, I just wanna make sure I understand the question. These are individuals who are currently on the board specifically is this question targeted towards?
It is about people that are on the board. So it reads, your opponents and are current board members. They claim nonpartisan status, but are active in local protests and are vocal in their leftist and liberal views. Do you believe they are nonpartisan?
So if someone is expressing their view on a position of some sort, they obviously are not neutral. That's what nonpartisan is supposed to represent. So I would say that they would not be nonpartisan, but that's a hard thing to judge on someone else's, you know, all of us as Americans have the right to protest whatever we want, or say what we need, or how we feel. So, and Jennie, I know, is someone who is fair-minded and feels that just as she feels strongly about something and speaks about something, others should be able to do the same.
Does that complete your answer?
Yeah.
Very good, thank you so much. Pat, may I read the question again?
Sure.
Okay, so your opponents, you and your colleagues on the board are claimed to be, you're claiming nonpartisan status, but are active in local protests and are vocal in your leftist and liberal views. Do you believe that you are nonpartisan?
Well, I certainly know that I am, and I can't recall ever taking part in any sort of a protest. Well, maybe in college. That was a long time ago, believe me. And I don't know what their background is. I'll be honest with you. Probably shouldn't admit it to this group, but I voted Democrat at the last election, and have voted Republican sometime, Democrat, Independent. It just depends on who's running and how I feel. The Democrats volunteered to sponsor me, and also Cora Rose, and we both thanked them very much, but said we wanted to remain nonpartisan for this election, and we're probably gonna lose votes because of it. But when we're on the board, we try to look at everybody's comments and stay as middle of the road as we possibly can.
Is that your complete answer?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So you are back up.
Oh, good.
All right. Pat, what is your opinion of the ALA? I believe that's the American Library Association. And are there alternatives to the ALA?
I can give you my opinion. I don't know what the alternatives are. I'm sure there's an alternative to everything out there. But it's done a good job. You know, they've had some leaders that I thought were not the best and I didn't support, but the decisions that the board made were good. So, yeah, I think they're doing a good job.
That's your complete answer?
That is.
Thank you very much. So Jen, we'll go down to Jennie Graham's response to that question. What is your opinion of the ALA, and are there other alternatives to them?
So as I had mentioned earlier on behalf of Jennie, that she has a handout over here that's available after this forum that goes into detail about the American Library Association so that everyone can be informed. She does feel that there are other resources that could also be used, that the ALA is not a law standard or something that's required for libraries to adhere to. And so I on behalf of Jennie, do recommend that all of you come up and get one of these wonderful handouts, go on these various websites that talk about all of the various different ways that libraries can function, you know, the libraries, they're supposed to have basic policies in place and accessible online for collection management. You know, just her note here to me is the current library board has advocated much of the power to the library director. And so that is something she is concerned about, doesn't feel that the ALA, which is referenced in a lot of the board meetings by the library director, is really the final word on things, but there is other resources available.
Thank you very much. Rashell?
Yeah, I've researched a bit on the ALA, the American Library Association, and our library here follows those guidelines pretty precise. A lot of them, what I've read is that the ALA, they really take, from my point of view, the communication from the community, and they have their guidelines, which if somebody, it states in there that if somebody wants to address a book, that they don't even listen to that. They have guidelines on, it's just not an open forum, the ALA that I've come to see. It's pretty one-sided, it's not very open, and there is other, it's worldwide. It was designed in the 1800s, the ALA, so it is one of the biggest institutions. But since then, when that was developed, it's evolved and it's changed with the times, and they're very, I'm gonna say leftist for sure, and they restrict a lot of community input. And there is other ways that other entities that can help libraries. One of them is called the WLA, which is the World Library Association, and it's more on common sense, and it's more for directing community involvement and establishing a rating system for those books that are controversial, which the ALA is against.
Thank you very much. You're back on deck here.
Yeah.
There is an uproar in other states concerning inappropriate books being read to grade schoolers.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the library offering selective reading materials to our young children?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that brings it back to the advisory committee, which would help a library institution versus one person that's allowing these books to come in. One person in our library has the direct say on which books are being allowed, not our community. And if we had a little committee of about 3 to 5 people, volunteers, people that are concerned parents, that want to be a part of this committee, and they go over these books, they collaborate, they bring it back to the board oversees it, and they bring it back to the library director. The library director would take in their account of why they found these books to bring into the library or not to bring in the library, and then she would oversee and implement that. So, you know, I think it's very wise to have an advisory committee to oversee what comes into our library.
Thank you very much. Jen, on behalf of Jennie Graham, there's an uproar in other states concerning inappropriate books being read to grade schoolers. How do you feel about the library offering selective reading materials to our young children?
So again, this is something that Jennie is very passionate about. This is why she is running for library board. She is really concerned about our children, what they are being exposed to, what information is available. I invite individuals in this room who may or may not know what is in the library to become familiar with that. We are concerned, this is the reason that she's running, is that she has seen what's in the library and is concerned about what is being available to children. And if you share this concern, if you do share this concern with Jennie, then you do need to vote for her so that she can be a voice for the children.
Thank you very much, Jen. Pat, your turn. There is uproar in some other states concerning inappropriate books being read to grade schoolers. How do you feel about the library offering selective reading materials to our young children?
Well, unless I'm incorrect, that most of the uproar has to do with school libraries and not public libraries. That seems to be where most of the uproar comes from. You know, a lot of emphasis has been placed on our librarian, but we also have a children's librarian. We've got parents that read to kids here at the library. We've got, it's not as if one person has decided, oh, we're gonna read about this book. We have input from parents constantly. Every time a new book hits the market, somebody comes in and wants us to get it, and we have to research it and look at it, see where it's approved, see the background of the book before a decision is made to purchase it for our library. It's not just some casual, we'll go to the store and get a book. That's why we have a children's librarian. That's why we have a librarian that looks at what the children's librarian is doing, and the children's librarian is looking at the people who are volunteering to read to the kids here. I think that's all I really have to say. You know, this has kind of gone out of hand. It's becoming a political thing, and it shouldn't be. It should be a children-centric deal where we're trying to give the kids something to look forward to, some pleasure in their life, some education, some knowledge, and some form of community here in Brookings. I get discouraged.
Well, thank you for your answer. We've concluded the Q&A portion of our agenda. And now it's time to wrap up. And I'd like to let you know you've got 3 minutes. So we'll start off with you, Pat, if that's okay, in your closing remarks.
It's always interesting when you come before a group that have already made out their ideas of what questions are going to be asked, and I'm the only one that didn't get them. So please bear in mind that I'm trying to wing it. This library is so important, and it should be as important to everybody that's listening as it is to me. Not because I've had 30 years library experience, 20 years on the board, but because I read and I have kids and grandkids, and now great-grandkids, that I'm sharing books with and sending books to. I've got over, I hate to admit this, over 3,000 books in my house. I collect science fiction. And I've read them, and I still keep getting books out of the library here. And I want the library to be able to have books for someone who's as different from me as you people are, as different from me as my husband was. He read nothing but Louis L'Amour, you know, and I don't like Western books, but I'm reading Tom Clancy, you know, and the library needs to be here for everybody. We need to protect our children, but we also need to have those 7 books available in the library for a parent that's got a question and a kid that needs an answer. And, you know, if I'm wrong, I'm really wrong. I think they belong there, and I think they need to be in a convenient place for a parent to reach down because Johnny's got a question or Mary's got a question, and they don't have to leave their kids there, go to the library and say, where can I find the book, and go get it. Most of the books in our children's section are gorgeous, and they're wonderful, and we have thousands of them, and they're bright and colorful and wonderful. Kid's not gonna pick up that book. Parent is gonna pick up that book to answer a question for a child. And I'm disappointed in the people that have made this a thing where, you know, it's porno for the kids. It isn't. It isn't at all. And we need to keep those parents that need those books in a place where they can get those books. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Pat. So we'll go to Jennifer White, responding for Jennie Graham. 3 minutes.
So Jenny wants you to, if you take away nothing else from this form, she wants you to know that she, again, is not advocating to ban or get rid of books. She is wanting just to have common sense be used to have them in a designated area for sexually explicit material. Now, she has seen the books that we have been referencing, and they are disturbing to her, And she is wanting you to really consider why is it such a challenge for individuals like herself who would like the library to just take common sense approach to have a specially designated area for those books. Is it that difficult for Jenny, is it that difficult for the library to take that action? It seems like would be a way to compromise, a way for everyone to be, satisfied that there are no children being exposed to anything. It doesn't seem like it's that much to ask. And so those that have come to the library board to express this, to be heard, don't feel heard, and she wants to represent those of us not being heard. That's one of the reasons she is running for library board. She wants to be able to have more public input, and she would like to make financial decisions that reflect common sense and make the best use of all taxpayer dollars.
Thank you very much, Jen. Rashell Parkinson, your 3 minutes, please.
Yeah, the library has a lot of good things going for it. It's a great place to come together, to learn some diversity here, to search, to read, and a lot of other programs. I do feel that there is, needs for some change though, and there is books that are very sexually explicit on the children's level right there. There's a book that you can pick it up right now. It's about 10-year-old kids, boys, going down on each other, and so you can't say that all the books are all pretty, and that they have information in there that is not it should not be readily accessible for little kids, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and they created a nice room in there that's glassed and closed off. Mom should be watching them, but you know what? Our policy says that a 14-year-old is actually the adult. So a 14-year-old is not an adult. They're not 18. They are not the parent of the kid, but our policy allows the 14-year-old to be able to watch over the children. And most kids at 14 don't allow watch over their little brother or sister very well, and those books should not be readily available that talk about little kids having sex or wanting to know what sex is. That's mom's job. Mom should be there with them though. So to me, it is more about placement of the books. I'm not wanting to ban the books. We need to come together and find a way to organize these books. Have it labeled, have it in a different area, something. I think we can figure it out. It's not that hard. You have to be 18, again, to buy Playboy at the gas station. There should be ways to have some of these books that we have on the children's levels that they can pick, accessibly and not be accessible for them. I don't want my little niece that's 6 years old to be able to pick up this little book. There's more than one book. If parents want to read it to their kids, fine. And also, a lot of this can be online. We don't necessarily have to have this in our library. You're talking about, our having books online, your older books. Well, why don't you have these books that are controversial online? That's one way to help it out for everybody. They're still available, but if mom wants to read that little sexual books to her kid, then she can pick it out on the library, online. So for me, the library is a great place. I think we can come together. That's just one main issue that I have. Again, the funds, I think some frivolous spending is occurring, and I think that needs to be readdressed. I really don't think that the parking lot out there, in my opinion, doesn't need to be done at this time. I'm not a contractor, but I drive in this parking lot and it doesn't feel to me that it needs to be done for $1 million. I think we can save on that for a little while in time, and go over when it's needed. So I look forward to working on the library board. I think there's some changes we can do together and unite our community and work out the details. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being there, Rashell. Listen, I'm impressed with the community response to an opportunity to come and talk about books and libraries. Holy moly. I mean, if you look at the top 10 things that people love to talk about, It's not necessarily books and libraries very often, but something's happening. There is a current, and people are thinking, they're feeling, and they're talking about important matters. And you illustrate one of the important matters, and that is, how do we manage this asset, community asset, called the library? I'm personally very grateful to see you here today, and I want to turn to these people and say thank you very much for devoting your time to come here, to prepare to be here. It is heartwarming to know that you have the concern and the compassion to go through this drill. And I personally am very grateful for your contributions. Would you like to give them an applause? This session is closed.